and welcome to Jackknife Chicken Truck. I'm your host, Joel Cox. A day late, but not a dollar short. Yeah, this shit came out on Wednesday. I was actually going to record this Wednesday morning, but I decided to go flying on Wednesday afternoon. The original plan was Tuesday night I was going to record this episode and release the other podcast, but I didn't because I was making a 3D model, make a case for the electronics for the RC airplane I have now. Well, that fell short. I made the case, went to bed, figured I'd finish in the morning and record the episode. I got up a little bit late, and I got a phone call, text message from a friend, saying, "Hey, we're going to be flying today." My first reflex was to say I couldn't make it because I had plans at 5:30 to go to the Science Center. But then taking a shower, I realized, even with a 2-hour round trip, I had 4 hours that I could fly if I got everything ready right then and there. But my plane was in pieces. So I hurried, I got done within an hour, tested the motor, and it smoked and almost died. So then, I swapped another motor out thinking it was a motor, and no, the ESC was dead. Fortunately, my friend had a spare, and we replaced it, and my plane is now flying again. I only got about 5 packs in. Wasn't what I wanted, but I still got to fly and I got my plane back together. So then, I came back to watch the fireworks. The fireworks show was actually okay. This year, for some reason, at the Science Center, they didn't allow us to take our folding chairs beyond a certain point, which is a little bit annoying, but the spot we had was okay. They also had a Lego exhibit with this guy who's making art out of Legos. Apparently he's very famous for it. It got me thinking, how did this guy get started? And when did someone decide that he was actually like an artist? Also, the night before, I got dragged into doing some painting. My friend Kristen and my wife were doing some painting with Kristen's niece, and I kind of got bullied into doing it, why don't you want to have fun with us? I just don't find painting fun. So I proceeded to paint. I took the paints, and instead of using a paper plate to mix my colors and put colors on the thing, I applied paint directly to the piece of wood I had. Yeah, again, instead of getting a piece of canvas, I ended up with a piece of wood because that's what was left. So I took the paint, put it on the I guess medium as they want to call it, and I just started painting. It came out looking really weird. I mean, I don't know. I kind of went from just covering the wood with paint to creating a black hole in the center and having random colors all around it. I even added some glitter. But anyway, it got me thinking about art and what is art and why people buy stuff. For some reason, Kristen was really obsessed with the painting. I'll probably post a picture of that later on in my Instagram or something. Right now, I'm posting waterfall pictures from the trip to Philly, which is the main thing I want to talk about. So, left work, got home, packed up my stuff. I had it already ready to go, but one of the things I do when I go on a trip is days before I make a to-do list, and then I pack that list the night before. That way I don't forget anything because I have plenty of time to make the list. Well, this time I forgot the list at work, but I mentally remembered most of the stuff, so I packed it all up and put it by the door, went to work, looked at my list, and modified the list to see what else I needed to add. I had everything that I needed to go, so I got in the car and I left. It took about 5 hours to get out there. I stopped once for to go to the bathroom and basically just get out of the car halfway. I drove the rest of the way, and it was kind of funny because the miles per gallon said I was going to be under by 20 miles in order to get there. But halfway through the trip, I had 20 miles of extra gas to go. When I pulled it into Bethlehem, PA, I ended up being on fumes. Normally my car is empty, it takes 12.5 gallons, but this time it took 13.5 gallons, which kind of scared me. I could only imagine if I went a little bit further being stuck on the middle of the road. I ended up getting in at like 10:20. Texted my friend letting him know that I got there. I was going to bed. Went to bed about 10:40 after unpacking everything, and woke up to a text message saying my friend would be there at 5:45. I woke up at 5:35, and it took me about 5 minutes to wake up. And I looked out the window and see my friend's car was already parked there. So I let her in, washed my face real quick, grabbed my gear, and realized I couldn't find my sunglasses, and left around 6:15. Drove another 2 hours to Benton, PA, where there was Rickett Glen. There was no cell phone reception, so I couldn't Facebook Live or post anything. which is kind of fitting considering it's outdoors in nature. We stopped at the park office, grabbed the map, looked around, and figured out which way we were going to go. We followed the trail, which is actually pretty well marked out. We went down a lot of hill, and then came down to a bridge where we found a fork. Going to the left would get you to the 3 extra waterfalls, or you could follow the main path and go and find the rest of them. There's 22 waterfalls there in total, but I felt like there's a lot more than 22 there. I took a ton of pictures and posted probably around 50 some on Facebook. I've been posting them daily on Instagram, and I'm amazed how many people actually enjoy the photos. I mean, I keep hearing the same joke from everybody about don't go chasing waterfalls. That's a song by TLC. It might come back as always that they are hiding something or they knew something about waterfalls they didn't want us to know. And I think it's true, because they were really very beautiful. The whole trail was tree covered, so while it was 77 or 80 degrees or whatever temperature was out every place else, it was actually kind of cool and comfortable walking through the path. I'm curious what that path would be like in the fall. It'd probably be a lot colder, and actually probably need a sweatshirt or maybe even a coat. After hiking the trail for about 4 hours, we got through and survived, and realized that my ambition to hit all 8 places in one day was a little ambitious. My friend and I decided that for the next year and a half, we're going to try and get the other 8 knocked out. But considering that a lot of the other places only have 1 or 2 waterfalls in a single place, we can probably do multiple places in the same day. It's a 6-hour drive if you drive the loop where all the locations are. That's not counting the hiking. So, that's going to hopefully happen eventually. Another thing that I want to get back to is the plane. I've noticed a lot of times I'm like, oh, this should only take a few minutes or a couple hours, and end up taking the entire day. The worst thing that happens is when you do a project like that, and then realize you wasted your time because you could have done it a different way. But hindsight's always 20/20. I've also figured out this weekend that I drove about 17 hours from Friday night till Sunday night. About 5 hours back and forth from Bethlehem. The 2-hour drive back and forth, which is a total of 4 hours, to Benton, PA, to go to the Rickett Glen. We also went to the King of Prussia Mall, where it took an hour to get there, so 2 hours for there, and then another hour or so driving back and forth, getting back and forth to my friend's house. The King of Prussia Mall is huge, and it had a lot of stores I always saw online, such as L.L. Bean and the North Face, and Superdry, which is another thing that I remember seeing years ago when we went on vacation. Everyone was wearing these shirts that said Superdry on it. I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up and found it was a clothing brand. And here in the mall, we found the actual Superdry store. T-shirts are super expensive at $30 a pop, but fortunately they had clearance wear, which brought it down to $20, which I count this as my souvenir. It's amazing what you can find in malls. I found a lot of pop figures on clearance. I ended up getting 3. One from Star Wars, it was Finn. I got a Joy from Blade Runner, and I got Sorrento from the Ready Player One movie. We went to Hot Topping. They also had pops on sale for buy one get one, but unfortunately they only had one pop I wanted. They would have had 2 or 3, or maybe even just 3 of the Ready Player Ones. I probably could have finished my collection for dirt cheap, but they didn't have those. GameStop, though, did have a bunch of flashlights on sale for 50 cents a pop, which I basically bought them out of them, because you can never have too many flashlights, especially when they're LED, and they can be used for other things. Another thing I realized is storage. When I went to the Science Center, I ended up taking burst shots of the fireworks. I ended up shooting 13.5 gigs of photos. Instead of doing a movie like I normally do, I decided to do burst shots because then I could make them into movies later if I really wanted to. I now have to go through these photos and figure out which ones I want to use and which ones I don't want to use. I mean, with 1 terabyte space on Dropbox, eventually I'll run out of space, but until then, I'll just probably keep throwing stuff in there. I've also realized I've got a lot of projects I'm working on. I've got my RC plane, which I need to fix the iNav system in it. Right now it's a glorified OSD, which is an on-screen display, which shows me latitude, longitude, and speed, and all that stuff. but eventually I'll be able to use it to actually fly the plane. I'll be able to have it to loiter, basically fly around in circles, or have it take off, basically not having to hit any throttle and just throwing the plane and letting it take care of the rest. I found the kit for a F-22 mini plane that I bought years ago when I went to my first flight fest out in Ohio, and I realized I wonder if I could get this one to fly as well with INAV. So now my goal is to see how small of a plane I can build and flying in a smaller area. As we said in the previous episode, I totally destroyed my plane out in Churchill, mainly because I was trying to find enough space to fly in. But now I seem to have enough, like going out to Latrobe or visit my friend in Sharon, PA. But that's an hour away. I'd like to get myself an actual park flyer where I can actually go to like a soccer field or a football field and just fly it. And I guess that's about it for now, because I'm just realizing this is an 11-minute episode. So, I'd say good day. Hope you had a good 4th of July. I know I did. And talk to you later.